Hi students, it's Dr. Elizabeth Paul coming to you from Hoedspruit, South Africa. And I wanted to introduce you to our guest speaker, Mr. Andrew Rae, who's a famous trekker here in all over Africa, actually. He owns Rae Trekking, and he has volunteered to share a little bit about South Africa with you. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our guest speaker.
Hi there, guys. Welcome on safari. We're sitting around a hardwood fire. We've just been out on game drive, and as Liz said, I'm owner of Rae Safaris. I'm a professional safari guide. We operate all over Africa, and this is one of my favorite places. It's a beautiful region known as the Greater Kruger, the northeastern part of South Africa, brimming with wildlife. We've had amazing encounters with elephant and a beautiful leopard this evening, and we're here on safari. We're about to have a grill going for the evening dinner, and in one of the most incredible countries, as far as I'm concerned, on the planet. So it's good to have you guys here.
And so, Andrew, could you start by maybe sharing a little bit about South Africa, just to acquaint my students with the landscape here?
Okay. So South Africa is it's around the 25th largest country in the world. It has a population, including immigrants, in excess of 50 million. It's a magnificent country. It's got ocean essentially on three sides, and is adjacent to four countries to the north: Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Botswana, and Namibia. It has the Atlantic Ocean on its western side and the Indian Ocean to the south and to the east. It's a country of mountains and incredible beaches, beautiful semi-desert landscapes in the interior, and then up here in the northeast in the neotropics, just this amazing savanna landscape with lots of wildlife. We have a really diverse population of people, multiple African ethnicities, 11 official languages. So English and Afrikaans, the languages with a sort of a colonial background, are just two of them, and then 9 African ethnic languages. So a really incredible diversity of people and cultures, and a very rich and complicated history in our country, but an incredible country nonetheless.
Can you share with us what happened in 1948, I believe?
Yeah, so the country changed really emphatically from the time that it was colonized in the 1600s, initially by the Netherlands and later by England. And in the 40s, ultimately what changed was parliamentary leadership and governance. And at that time, in order to apply a certain control to the various ethnic components of the country, the government sought to control it by dividing and conquering, and developed this leadership concept of apartheid, which has obviously become a well-known type of oppressive government that South Africa had in its history. And the government changed in the 40s and adopted this style of control and leadership. And this ended in the mid-90s with elections becoming free and fair in South Africa, and with the Liberation Organization, the ANC, becoming unbanned.
And ANC is
African National Congress, correct. And ultimately, through free and fair elections, the ANC winning the vote, and Nelson Mandela, one of the bastions of freedom and liberation in our country, becoming our first state president of color. And so South Africa went through this period of darkness and oppression, and then came out in the mid-90s into this period of unification and re-emergence into the world, and we're still essentially acquiring a kind of a sense of ourselves. We're trying to understand what it means to be South African, and how unification can take place across this incredibly diverse spectrum of belief, of culture, of desire to succeed, of the things that we hold dear, and South Africa is very diverse. I think our government has a lot of challenges in terms of trying to understand us as a population, and I think we've got some good things to show for it, and we've got a proud future ahead of us. But we have some serious challenges ahead of us in terms of the of apartheid and what it meant, and the vestigial feeling of oppression that has come behind generationally, and how we try and set those things to rest, that we can move on together as a unified population.
And I also have met a number of folks along the way, and we are hitting we're cresting on the third, I don't know if we're cresting, we're reaching the third COVID wave here in South Africa. And so that's been somewhat of a challenge, and having the opportunity to meet some folks who live in the townships, just realizing that potentially there could be another lockdown, and what that would do to those people who live in very, very small homes with many people forced together is heartbreaking, and how that will impact the spread of COVID is unknown. But do you have any insights on?
Absolutely. We have a large impoverished population in South Africa that lives in very, very spread out. When I say spread out, they're large geographically, but there's a lot of people living close to one another in what we refer to as informal settlements. And we were talking earlier today about just how it would be to live in that kind of existence, that kind of squalor, with so many people in very confined shelters, and no real access to the basics of electricity and running water, etc. And how COVID introduced to that kind of living condition would be terrible. And I think a lot of the so-called third wave that my country is experiencing right now, I think is happening in these areas where it's just impossible to create a social distancing scenario, because there's just so many people living together in these confined informal spaces. And for them to be able to get to work, they're sharing public transport where social distancing is very difficult. And so yes, I think that must be where some of these the spread of some of this is exacerbated by these conditions. It's tough.
Another health condition that's prevalent here in South Africa is HIV/AIDS. It's the highest in the world, actually, and combining that with COVID could be I'm sure it's been a severe challenge.
Yeah.
And so and as Andrew was saying, the health conditions, living tightly packed together with all these different diseases could just exacerbate what's ever brewing on the surface. So it's somewhat challenging. But regardless, it's an absolutely beautiful country with both mountains and oceans. It's fabulous. The people are wonderful. There's so many different ethnic groups all here together, which is exciting. And the animals are great. And Andrew is the super unbelievable, amazing guide who can point out almost anything. So we've had a real treat. I was spending the past couple of days with him, Andrew Rae Safaris. So I want to thank you very much.
Great pleasure.
And and so we just wanted to share a little bit of that with you. And I know that at least one of you might choose a health topic that's impacting South Africa for your final papers. So hopefully you'll consider some of the insights that Andrew has shared with us, and moving forward. So anyway, I wish this was a live call, but sorry, it's taped. And we just want to say hello from South Africa.
Hi there.
And we hope you're doing well. Thanks so much, and thank you, Andrew.
No worries. Thanks, guys.
Goodbye.